grabs
God.
a piece of flesh and he's like, ah. Hey,
Hi.
I'm Jen,
I'm Corey.
and we are Deep
Dark and
and
scary.
Scary. Welcome to our channel. Welcome back to our channel. If you have never been here before, please like and subscribe.
Smash the bell.
And if you have been here before, welcome back. We appreciate each and every one of you for watching. What do we have today?
Oh dear Lord. We have a zombie movie. We're back into scary.
Well,
Okay.
I,
It's
I would not
scary.
categorize it as scary, but it is what it is. It may have been in its time, right? It was 78-ish, 79.
79, yeah. It were released
So,
in 80 in the States, I think. So, yeah.
so maybe for its time, it was probably like, oh God. But now we're just like, they could have done this a little better. Or that
Right.
that blood looked really, really fake. I think at one point Corey's like, is that tomato sauce in there? Or tomato soup? I was like, could be. It was pretty funny.
So this week is Lucio Fulci week, and he's an Italian director. He's done a ton of horror movies, and I picked Zombie, which is actually in Italy Zombie 2. The original Zombie was just a recut by Dario Argento, another Italian director, of Romero's Dawn of the Dead.
It did seem like he had a few, I don't want to call them rip-offs, but rip-offs and seconds of really big movies. But this one wasn't bad at all. I'll tell you that right off the bat. There will be spoilers. We'll be dissecting the movie little by little. And then we'll tell you what we thought.
So this movie came out in 1979. It had a budget of 410 million lira, which is $175,000
U.S.
US for 1979. At the box office, it brought in 3 billion lira, which is about 3.75 mil American. So it did pretty well.
It made a bit of money for the low budget it had. I mean, they made quite a bit of money off of it. The one nice thing, and the one thing I did notice that right off the bat I want to say is for how comical some of the what are they called? Like the fake blood and all that
The
stuff.
special effects.
The special effects, that's what I was trying to think of. For how the comical they were now in 2021, I'm sure they were big back then, but this movie didn't seem like it had a low budget. Like, I mean, there was, really
Yeah.
like sailboats, really nice sailboats. There was
Helicopter
a nice
shots.
speedboat. It really didn't feel like it was low budget. The only thing that I could see maybe is the casting, because you could tell there was quite a few Italian actors and American actors in this, and there was some really bad dubbing, over voiceover work.
So, yeah, they were saying the same things, but when the American actor
It was like just
overdubbed,
off a
the
little.
New York accent was
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, just a little bit, but you could enough you could tell. So maybe, more B-rated actors or something, that they didn't have to pay as much, I'm assuming. The other thing we don't know is we don't know how long it took to shoot the film, because there seemed to be a lot of different shots. There's, this boat floating out in it was Staten Island Harbor, right?
Oh,
The Staten
it
Island
was only
Ferry.
a 2-month shoot.
So obviously, the shorter the shoot, probably the less they have to pay actors for being there. And that does surprise me too a little bit with, like I said, there's a lot of different things. There's a morgue scene, there's a police, department
They
scene,
were
and
in,
then they're in the islands,
yeah, there was a, yeah, they,
which could have been a soundstage. We don't know, right? Any of it could have been a
there was even
soundstage.
underwater stuff
But
that
a
was,
lot of it
yeah,
looked semi-legit, right? For a 1978-79 movie. So,
even a shark. There was a shark.
there was two sharks.
Two, yeah,
There was
two
two
sharks,
sharks.
yeah.
But you could tell that the girl wasn't in the same place as these sharks were, but it was a pretty good shot anyway,
But yeah, for the amount, and they were all practical effects. I mean, it was 79, so there wasn't a
right?
lot of there wasn't, if any, CG.
CG, yeah,
So they,
that was crazy.
for practical effects, it was really good compared to even some stuff that came out in the mid to late 80s.
I had just from our past movies we've been watching, I had pretty low expectations. And we did watch the trailer of the movie last week. Usually after we finish filming, we'll watch the trailers of a couple of movies to pick for the following week. And we watched the trailer for this one because Corey had mentioned wanting to see it anyway. And I came into it with very, very low expectations. The trailer to me, was just done really poorly. Like, it didn't
Yeah,
show enough really even to get you interested.
it showed like
It
almost
was,
like the last, I guess you could say, major scene of
it
the
was,
movie. It just showed that, so it kind of gave away
yeah.
the end of the movie. So I mean,
Yeah,
we're gonna
to me,
spoil this for you anyway.
yeah,
But if
you're
you
gonna
want to,
find out.
but if you watch the trailer,
Yeah, don't, for this one, I would say don't go by the trailer to watch the
yeah.
movie there. Um, so yeah, do you want to start it out?
So it starts out with this doctor, and there's a guy and wrapped up in a blanket, and the blanket just sets up, and he shoots the blanket in the head, and then tells the nurse to go tell the crew of the boat that they can leave and go back. And then it flashes to New York Harbor, Staten Island, off of Staten Island, and the boat's just floating there in the harbor, and the Staten Island ferry almost hits it.
And there's all this trash rolling around on it, and
Yeah,
flies buzzing around, and the camera, which is really good camera work, I thought it kind of zooms in to I don't know sailboats by any means.
you
The
could tell
top
they
of the
were on a
boat,
boat when they were filming too, because you could see
yeah,
that it
it
was
was moving.
it was moving. It
Yeah,
wasn't very good steady cam work.
but some of the doors to down below the berth, I think it's called. My dad's gonna be so mad at me for not knowing that. But like the doors are broken off and just hanging there, and they're slamming in the wind, and there's trash rolling everywhere. And so somebody, and we're assuming kind of the Staten Island ferry, somebody calls it in to the Coast Guard, and the Harbor Patrol Coast Guard kind of pulls up alongside and sends two guys to go check out this boat that's just floating there, and it's in the way of all other boat traffic.
And the patrol officers are pretty excited because the boat looks abandoned, and they think they're going to get some
Make
reward.
some money off of
Yeah,
it.
get some reward money or something
Yeah.
for a lost boat. So, but they go on there, and the senior officer, I'm guessing he looks like he's a little older than the other
And
guy.
he's pretty bossy.
He goes down to check out the downstairs, and there's like all this rotten meat and stuff down
It's all
there.
this open food, and
Yeah.
you hear the flies, right? The sound effects. You hear flies buzzing, like rotten flesh and stuff.
So he looks around, and then the other guy's like, "Hey, the sail's coming down or whatever," and he goes up and the sail falls, and he's like, "You go down there and check it out. I'll stay up here and take care of the sail." And I'm like, "That's right. Send the rookie down there to look through the mess."
You did too.
So then at this point, the zombie busts out from, I guess it's they called it the bilge hold or something, in the back. He busts out and he attacks the young officer and bites him in the neck. Pretty decent special effects there. The zombie looked pretty good. And then the zombie comes upstairs and
kind of stumbles around,
yeah,
and then the other officer is like, "Stop or I'll shoot! Stop right there or I'll shoot!
He's got
Stop
his
or I'll
gun
shoot!"
pointed at him,
and they just over and over, "Stay right there! Stop! 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 Don't go any further!"
And then he shoots him in the chest like a couple of times, and the zombie falls in the water. And I'm like, well, he didn't hit him in the head. There
New
goes
York's
New York.
Done.
Yeah, burn it to the ground, move on. Yeah. So then they bring this is like the first bad scene, I guess. They flash to the police station, and the desk sergeant or whatever, the main detective, he's trying to get some people to go investigate or look at it or whatever, and his overdubbing was horrible. But they get a guy in there and tell him to go out, and then it flashes to like the boat scene, and
they're just looking around, and they have the tape outline of where the
cop was killed.
The Coast Guard dude was killed, and then they have the daughter of the owner of the boat. Yeah, like harsh. Like, she looks like she's gonna cry for her very first scene, and she's like, "Why are you asking me this? My father's missing. If I knew where he was, wouldn't you think I would tell you?"
And they're all like, he went to
he
went to the island and
Antilles.
Yeah, he went there, and they're like, why is his boat? And they're like, where is he? And they're like, you tell us where he is. And she's like, I don't know. Like, so yeah, there's this weird back and forth between the detectives and her, and then it flashes to the morgue scene. And Jen's like, great, we're gonna have a body sit up, and of course we're gonna have a body sit up.
You know, you just anticipate. But it didn't happen.
No, they just see some fingers wiggling.
Yeah. Like, it was kind of very uneventful. Like, it looks like a legit morgue scene. Like, it was really good, and the setup was...
The body was way too decayed for
that was
a day.
Bad. The body was very bad, but it was like purple.
Gray skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was weird.
With the red bite on the neck.
And there was two, and it almost seemed like the older gentleman was training the younger gentleman. Like, what do you see here? What do you think made this? And he's like, what do you think made this? And he's poking around at it. And he's like, I think that was 2 bites. And I was like, really? And
then he goes to get the scalpel, and he like examines the scalpel. He's like, you couldn't cut a piece of tissue with this.
And then the camera pans down the zombie body, and his hand moves
you see
a little.
Like a twitch underneath the
sheet. Yeah. And then that was it. The end of the morgue scene. Then they don't go back.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, that's it? Really? But I get it.
So then the daughter decides that she's going to investigate the boat.
On her own.
And she goes down and she's looking for something. She hides behind it. She hides behind some stuff to get past there's an officer
it looks like
posted.
It's almost like in an impound area of the bay, and there's a little shack right there where this officer's posted, and she's like got to sneak around these barrels and trash can and like hide, and then run and hide. And she's wearing a white dress, a coat, and heels. To go be stealthy.
And she ducks behind this trash can, and her head's still like this far up above
That part was pretty funny. I laughed. I looked at Corey, and I was like, really? Hide behind a trash can? All right.
So she goes on the boat, and then this like guy grabs her around the mouth.
Like scared the bejesus out. I would have freaked.
And he's like, don't say a word. Don't scream. I'm going to take my hand away. Don't scream. I'm so-and-so with the...
I'm a reporter. Whatever news, yeah.
So he takes his hand away, and she goes, who are you? And he's like... We're both looking at each other. We're like, he just said who he was. He gave his entire backstory right there.
And then he's had to say it again.
He's like, I just told you.
Well, that was either really poor editing, or they tried to make it funny because it was funny.
I'm just like, he just said.
But it was good.
And then they start looking. He's got a little bit of information on what happened.
And he holds, so this is, I got a little confused, and I didn't say anything to Corey at the time, but he holds up a letter and like teases her with it, like, I found something, let's put
our information
your
together.
knowledge with my knowledge and see what we can figure out. But then he drops the letter, and then they get caught.
Well, she hits like a lamp or something like that, and it falls to the floor and rolls around. Yeah. So the suit comes on, and he's looking around, and he's the cop or the reporter. He's like, "Hey,
I have an idea. Just go with it.
Just go with it." So then when he gets down there, they're both on the bed like making out.
And they pretend like they were just looking for somewhere to make out. And they got away with it.
Yeah, so the cop tells them to leave.
Just get out of here.
And then it flashes to daytime.
Yeah.
And he's in a phone booth. And
reading that letter that he had dropped.
Yeah, to his editor.
Yeah.
And I was like, is he reading it to her, but he's acting like he's on the phone? And then
it was weird.
He tells the editor that he needs to fly him to this island.
St. Thomas,
yeah. He needs to fly him down there so that they can investigate this, where the editor doesn't even give him any flack about it. He's just like, okay.
Okay. Yep, we'll pay for her ticket to go too.
So
he has no idea who she is. Just
so they're down on this Caribbean island, and they're in a taxi cab, and they're like, should we try to go to this other island that they were at first, or should we go drop our bags off? And she's just
get
like,
a boat.
Whatever you think. Yeah. And he's like, hey, he tells the cab driver, hey, we need a boat. And he's like, oh, not a lot of boats around here. And
boats
I'm like,
are hard to come by. And the dude's speaking Spanish.
I'm like, they're on an island, like, out.
Supposedly they're on St. Thomas, which I have been to, mind you, a couple of times. And I'm like, I never met anyone that spoke Spanish that lived on the island. Not saying that there aren't, but I just thought it was really odd. And then the reporter waves some money in his face, and he's like, here, we need a boat. And he's like, yeah, I just remembered.
I just remembered where there's a boat. And he says something about two white people. So they
trying to find an island.
Yeah, so they go and they find these two other people. And they're like, hey, we need to go to this, was it Marta? Motu, yeah. And they're like, oh, the locals say that it's cursed. We're
not going there.
And they're like, look, we need to get there. There's something to happen. So
then they're like,
well, you're going to pay for your part of the supplies then and whatever. And we're going to drop you out, but don't expect us to sightsee. Like, we're just going to drop you.
Don't expect us to go on land and sightsee with you.
Yeah, we're on vacation. They're going on like a month-long vacation.
2 months of...
2 months, yeah.
I forget what he said, fishing and swimming or something weird, odd, whatever. But yeah.
So
they take him.
And they're out there, and there's this really odd scene. Like, they get so far out, and the guy who owns the boat's wife or girlfriend is like, I want to snap some pictures, so can we stop?
It looks really good down below, because I think she's looking at like the coral and fish and stuff, and she wants some pictures.
So she takes her shirt off.
She basically gets naked to go scuba dive and take pictures. She has this tiny little thong on and nothing else. And I'm like, all right then.
So she straps her scuba gear on and goes down, and she
gets some pictures of coral and some fish, and then all of a sudden a shark shows up.
So she tries to hide from the shark.
Yeah, there's like some weird caverns and stuff, like a few feet under the water. Just all right, whatever.
So then the shark goes by, and then a hand reaches out. Oh no, this is even before that. She goes up and she's like, shark, shark.
I'm going back down.
And so she goes back down, and another shark comes by. And as she's trying to hide from that shark, this hand grabs her, and it's a zombie.
Zombie underwater.
So he's trying to get her, and she grabs a piece of coral and is like shoving it in his face. Disrupting the
But
ecosystem.
like Corey noted during this scene, there were no bubbles coming from the zombie, which was really, really good filmmaking
Yeah.
because there was a lot of shots that were dead on the zombie's face the entire time, or the actor's face, right? That I don't know how he would have done it.
And then the shark shows up and the zombie attacks the shark. And I'm like, are we going to get zombie sharks?
He literally reaches up and like
He
grabs
wrestles
flesh.
this fucking shark. Yeah. Oh my
He grabs
God.
a piece of flesh and he's like, ah.
Yeah, he like rips it off. Yeah. And then the other shark comes by, and I thought there was only one shark. So I'm like, where's the blood? Like, that shark just got a piece of it ripped off. But it was a different shark. And then he grabs it by the fins
and basically
and
rides
wrestles it. Yeah. And then bites where the neck of the shark would be if sharks had necks. They're like Marines. They just... Gills, no disrespect to the Marines, but they just...
No neck.
No neck. So he takes a big chunk out of it, and that's the only time I think I saw Bubbles was when he took the bite.
But then she gets back to the boat and she's telling him
there's a guy underwater.
She doesn't say zombie. She doesn't say anything about him trying to bite her, which they wrestled, like hardcore wrestled, and he was trying to hurt her, and she didn't say anything about that. She's just like, there's a dude underwater.
And I think it's because of the editing, because they could have probably had her tell them more in front of the camera.
Really
it was a hard cut.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the island.
And that's when they introduce you to Dr. whatever his name is. We started calling him Morneau because that's whatever.
Dr. Moreau.
Or Moreau, yeah.
Yeah, because the first thing the woman's like, what you're doing with I think it's his wife or girlfriend. Mm-hmm. I don't like what you're doing with your experiments. I'm like, what is this? The island of Dr. Moreau.
And I had already noted that. I was taking notes during the movie, and I'm like, totally reminded me of the island of Dr. Moreau. And the score of this movie.
Oh, geez. So there was some really bad calypso music anytime they would show the island, like St. Thomas when they were there.
That was really bad there. And then it was just as bad on the island.
It was like underneath when the doctor was talking, but then I was like, God, that horrible calypso music.
Then they started some like drum.
It was like voodoo
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it shows the doctor's arguing with his girl. We're just going to call her girlfriend because they don't designate at all who she is to him except that they live in the same home. But she knows there's these Walking Dead people, and not quoting the movie, but like she knows they're on the island, and she is worried, like legitimately worried that they're coming to their side of the island soon, and she has anxiety. They show her taking pills, and she drinks alcohol, so she's legit scared and tells him like she wants to leave, right? But there's a part where they show him, the very first part when you meet him, he's on a radio trying to get a hold of people to help them. Get help, and the radio's not working, and she like accuses him of breaking the radio on purpose and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh gosh, it's more Island of Dr. Moreau BS. But he's essentially like trying to find a cure. All the people that are from the Caribbean and from this island all say it's cursed, and they know about, the dead rising. And so no one really wants to be there. No one wants to go there. But there are people that are living there, and some of them are helping him. Like he had a caretaker at his home.
Miguel.
Yeah, and they didn't really show him after, did they?
Mm-mm.
Like, we don't know if he died, if he was a zombie after a while, who knows? But then he had a nurse at the little makeshift hospital they had, and another gentleman that worked there and helped him move bodies and bury bodies
like a
and stuff.
Groundskeeper there, yeah.
Yeah. So there were people living there that knew about this, and the boat with these 4 people get there because she's looking for her dad, and the boat's broken from the shark thing.
Oh yeah, the shark rammed the boat.
Yeah. These tiny little sharks. I'm telling you, they were not great whites. Like, they
No.
were nurse sharks. I don't know if any of y'all know the difference.
Put a picture of one.
There you go. That's what they used in the movie anyway. They weren't. But anyways, they make it seem like a shark rammed into the boat and cracked the
Well,
hull.
because the guy was like shooting at the shark in the water.
That first shark that attacked her, yeah. And then...
And this guy has a horrible aim with a gun. Horrible aim.
And you figure this out as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
Of course, they never really tell him. Like, no one ever really says, hey, to kill these zombies, you have to shoot them in the head.
Right.
But
he's still a
hits
horrible
them.
aim.
Yeah, he misses or he hits them in the chest almost every time. But yeah, and like their boat's broken down and they get to this Motu island, whatever it is, and they discover like legit right away. Like they weren't there. They went to the doctor's house.
Oh, they were shooting up the flares, and the
one
guy
guy
from the hospital saw they're shooting rockets out there.
Yeah.
So
The doctor's
over
like, let me go check. Let me go
over
see.
in Catfish Bay. Mm-hmm. There's catfish in the sea, I guess.
Yeah.
So they go out and get them or whatever. They don't show.
They like meet him at the beach because the next thing they show is the doctor driving with all of them in his Jeep.
And they're talking about the island.
And her dad.
And her dad. And he's like, oh, I knew your dad. He used to stop here on his visits. And then he goes through the backstory of what happened to the dad. So the dad never actually made it to New York. It was his crew, which is what they show in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But they show that scene over again in the telling of it. But the dad is dying, and he knows that something's wrong, and he's like, I'm gonna stay here. The doctor wanted him to go back, and he's like, no, I need to stay here. You can.
I contracted whatever is on the island, this disease, and I want you to basically end me. I don't want to turn out like one of them.
Right. And the doctor stays there with him until he dies, and then he picks up his gun and he's like, I know what I have to do. But they don't ever show him shoot the dad.
No.
But he's got the gun and he's over by the dad's corpse.
Mm-hmm. But then he like gets mad at himself and he walks away like, this is my friend, I can't do it. And then they literally switch scenes. So you don't know for sure if he shot him or not. But he does tell the daughter that he's dead. But then one of the zombies towards the end looks like him. Corey thought it was him.
I think it was.
I don't think so, but maybe it was. I don't know.
I'll see if I can find a picture.
They're really grimy and dirty and coming out of the ground at the end. So it was hard for me to tell.
But he's got, in his hospital, he's got like maybe 5 or 6 beds where people have contracted this disease. And
technically they're still alive.
But
like
they're
still
dying.
Human, but they're dying.
They're strapped to the bed. They're wallowing in their own sick. Like, it's horrible.
It's pretty gross. And like the one they kind of zoom in on, she's having visions of her love, like walking down the middle of the road, and he's a zombie. And then they flash to him walking down the middle of the road, and then she dies.
So, yeah, so the doctor's girlfriend, I guess it flashes to her, and she's
taking a shower.
She's taking a shower, full frontal.
Corey had to throw that in there,
chest
but
up.
And like the doctor had asked Miguel, their caretaker, their like landscaper, caretaker, whatever, to keep an eye on her. Don't let anyone in, don't let anyone out. And he's sitting on these stairs not too far from the window where she's showering with a dog, like a little beagle dog.
Mm-hmm. And he's smoking something.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is.
Did not look like a cigarette.
I didn't see him exhale, so...
Yeah. But he hears a noise, and him and the dog get up to go.
The overdub sound for the dog is like whimpering noises, like the dog's being hurt.
Yeah. which I didn't like
Like,
at
this is
all.
the worst sound effect for this dog.
But then, like, the next minute, she's out of the shower.
Well, when she's in the shower, there's like a
Oh, you
hand that
see a zombie hand
goes
goes
up
up to
and
the
is like,
window.
yeah, well, you see
But,
the backside of it.
yeah. But then she gets out of the shower and goes and puts her robe on, and she senses something's
Something.
off. But she goes to take one of her anxiety pills. And
And
then
she sees
she
like a shadow or
sees
something
and
behind her.
hears, because you hear like a weird footstep.
She's looking in the mirror and she can see something behind her from the mirror. And she turns around and she goes out to look, and I'm like, oh, is there something? I didn't see anything, but I
Except
wasn't...
for that hand while she was showering.
Right.
You don't see anything.
So she goes to shut her door's not all the way shut, so she goes to shut it, and it won't shut.
So if any of you have ever been in the Caribbean and you know about the humidity, or if you live where there's humidity, you know sometimes the wood expands and your door's not always going to close the way it's supposed to close. Sometimes you got to give a little shove. Sometimes, you got to make it fit. Hers is not closing at all. And it looks like the door had expanded in a couple of spots, so she could not get it shut. And like all of a sudden, then you start seeing little zombie fingers.
It pans
like,
to the crack, and you see a hand like on the door, just kind of holding it. And then it starts pushing, and the fingers work their way through the crack. And she's slamming it, and then she just slams the fingers off.
yeah, so
And it's like a slatted door, so you can see through the slats.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's not going to hold. Even though she shut and locked the door, it's just going to bust through those wooden slats.
Right.
And she pushes, like murder-in-law again. She pushes like a vanity.
This little vanity thing that seems, or she makes it seem like it's
Heavy.
uber heavy. Like,
yeah, it takes her a
she
minute
is
to get it over to the
struggling
door.
to get it to the door. And I'm like, dude, that literally covered up what? Maybe the bottom 10 slots.
It was
in
like
the door.
waist high,
Like,
yeah.
that dude's coming through there anyway. Which he does. Then he starts breaking those little slats off the door. Mm-hmm. They never show his face, though.
But he grabs her by the back of the head and pulls her.
Because he grabbed her hair.
Oh,
like, he reaches through and grabbed a handful of hair and then turns her head around, and there's some broken wood.
There's some broken wood, and you see from, like, her
smashes.
eyesight, she can see it.
Yeah.
And she's just getting closer and closer. And Jen's like, not an eye scene. Yeah, that's one of my things, too, but...
I don't like eyeballs. I can't. I'm glad, knock on wood, I don't need contacts. I don't think I could ever do it. I hate touching my eyes. I hate anyone else touching my eyes. I don't like eye drops. I don't like other people's eyes. Eyeballs. Not my thing. And it really, like, this was one of the spots I told Corey, that was, like, really decent. Like,
It was. You could tell it was a fake face when it got closer, but it was good enough that they blended it well.
It creeped me out.
But it, like, the wood touches and then just goes in, and then she's got like this thing on with the wood sticking there, and it just pulls her the rest of the way through.
And then you don't see her again until the others come to the house.
So then it flashes to them. What were they doing?
Hiking through the woods. They were driving.
Oh yeah, they were driving, trying to get to the hospital, and
that was after they saw her. Remember? Because they were driving away so fast.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I don't remember what was going on right before that.
I don't remember what was going on before that. It must not have been very memorable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scenes in this where it's just...
It could have been one of the scenes of the doctor and the nurse just having a conversation.
Oh, did they...
When...
Yeah.
We had another one die. Like, the nurse finds him on the beach. I bet that's what it was. Because the nurse goes and finds him drinking on the beach. He's a little
passed out drunk on the beach, yeah.
And she goes to get him, saying, this dude is about dead. We need to go handle the situation, right? Yeah. So they go and do whatever they're going to do. And then they flash to the 4 the two couples that are on the island.
And they go up to the house.
And they go to the doctor's house. He had directed them there earlier in the day and said, if you need anything, you can stop by and see my whatever
wife
she
or
is,
girlfriend, yeah.
up at my home. So they go there to wait for him, to talk to him. And they walk in on basically a nice buffet.
It's a human buffet. There's like 4 zombies sitting around just
munching on the girlfriend.
Yeah.
She literally has no leg from
the zombies
the
in
knee
this
down.
movie
And
do not eat brains. They must be...
I had an issue with that.
Yeah.
Not like an issue, but I was like, dude, legit zombies go for brains.
Right. I mean,
like brains.
The cliche zombie, the only thing zombies say are brains. And
these zombies were
like vampires.
Zombies.
Yeah, they
go for the neck.
The neck.
Every time. And then they just eat flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you never see them really touch the head. Because her head was intact except for her eyeball. But she was missing a leg. Her sternum and guts were all out, and they're munching on that. And
her
pieces
hand
of her,
was disconnected.
Hand was and they're just peeling pieces off eating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. It was a good scene.
Yeah, the effects were really good.
But I was just like, really? Every single zombie in this movie went for the neck, went for the jugular. And I was like, that's just a little weird for me, I guess. But it is what it is, I guess.
So then they run out of the house. There's 2 other zombies that try to attack them inside the little bungalow. And they get away. Oh, he picks up these antlers.
Weird antler things, and he takes them.
I was waiting for him to gore him with them, and then the other guy hits him with something else, and they run out and they hop in the vehicle and they're taking off down this road. And they're like, we need to find the hospital.
Yeah, and they hit a zombie on the way.
Or they steer to avoid it. Well, they do hit it,
but then they steer off into the jungle and end up like smacking up against
a tree. And they weren't even going that fast. And he gets out. First thing he does, pop the hood, and he's like, "Oh, well,
can't do this.
The radiator's done for, or whatever." And I'm like,
"Why does that matter? Keep running."
And
they're zombies.
The reporter had broken his ankle or twisted his ankle or whatever, and he's like,
"It was red and bloody." I was like, you didn't even hit the tree very hard.
Right.
That was weird.
So he's hobbling along, and the daughter of the guy is helping him, and they make it, and then it's dark.
They make it like to the beach, the edge of the beach in the jungle, and then all of a sudden it's pitch black.
Yeah.
Well, then the 2 that were on the boat, she gets attacked by a zombie and gets her throat ripped out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that was... Yeah.
That was right there because the reporter with his ankle couldn't go on. So the daughter said, I'll stay with him. You 2 go look for help. So they literally made it, 10 feet, 25 feet away. And they found a helmet. And then they saw that it was like a burial ground.
Mm-hmm.
And she freaked out, and something raised up from under the ground and grabbed onto her, came out, like literally ripped her throat out.
Yeah, and she was blood was just gushing out. Yeah.
So then they're all angry and upset, and it's pitch black outside, and they run, right? Because all these zombies now start coming out of their graves right in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So they're running, and they finally find the hospital and go inside.
Yeah, and then they're making some...
This is like the culmination at the end where they're making some Molotov cocktails and shooting at them and trying to board up the
Yeah, they board up the door. They pile a bunch of stuff in front of the door.
Yeah.
And
like useless stuff.
So the zombies are trying to get in, and the guy, Brian is his name, the captain of the boat or whatever that took him out there. He gets a shotgun. Don't let this guy have a gun. And he just starts blasting them wherever he can. And then I think something clicks that if he hits them in the head, they die. So he starts shooting for the head.
But then he runs out of ammunition on both guns. Because after he finished the shotgun, he went to a handgun and then emptied that. and that was it. And then they went over for the Molotov
Well,
cocktails. But by this point,
they were back filling them up, and out front the doctor's sitting out there, and then what looks like the girl's dad is standing there in zombie form, and he bites the doctor.
And 2 or 3 of them end up
and then
zombie food.
The caretaker of the hospital or whatever, I say janitor, he's the guy that buries all the bodies. He gets bit by someone who had just died.
That was that female.
Yeah, that female.
That I was telling you about earlier that was like having visions and stuff. She bit him, and then he was gone. And then I don't know what happened to the nurse, because then they show the 3. So Brian got bit on the arm, but they still took him. So the reporter and the daughter
threw all those Molotov cocktails and
and set fire to everything. And
it looks like they just like pretty much blocked their only way out.
But they still got out.
There must have been like a back door. They climbed out a window or something, and they're going to leave, and his girlfriend shows up, and she's neck missing.
Right.
And
she bites him in the arm.
And he's like, he's didn't want to kill her. He's like, like he's got a gun, and then the other guy like takes the gun, the reporter, and he shoots her. But then we got to get him to the boat, and I'm like, you see what's happening?
What's gonna happen
all
to him,
around
right?
you. Yeah. So they get him on the boat, and the place like burns to the ground.
But by now it's daytime. They're on the boat, and they make him go lay down, and he dies.
Yeah, the lady, the daughter, she goes down and tries to put like a rag on his head and like cool him off, and then she comes up and she's like, he's dead. The reporter's like, well, we'll put him in the bilge hole.
We'll bring him back to America where somebody can, find a cure
so
or whatever.
They'll believe us.
Oh, yeah. So they'll believe us.
Yeah, so they'll believe our story.
And then she's like, let's turn on the radio.
He's like, well, let's find something that'll cheer this situation up or whatever. And he turns it on, and it's a news report saying that New York's been overrun by zombies. I'm like, I don't think they would not believe you.
Yeah.
And
that's it.
Yeah, and then it flashes to New York, and there's zombies everywhere. They're
all over the
walking
the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yep.
But yeah, it was. It was a really good movie. Like, I was entertained for all hour and a half. There was maybe one part where I was a smidge bored because we hadn't seen a zombie in probably 15 minutes.
Right.
Because it was a lot of storyline.
There's a lot of, like, the doctor
stuff,
talks about some stuff. And
you don't understand because, like, he draws his own blood. Like, a lot of his own blood. That's where he said it looked like tomato soup.
Yeah.
And then he puts 3 little drops of it on...
I guess it's some zombie flesh or something, or it looks like a dried piece of flesh.
It looks like zombie blood.
But it's all
like dried
hard.
Blood, yeah.
But he had seen some microorganisms in the blood, like moving around, so he puts his own blood on there.
But they don't show anything after that.
They don't show it attacking his cells or anything.
They don't even look in the microscope after that. Mm-mm. So I'm like, that was kind of useless,
Yeah.
But overall, I thought it was a good movie. We did laugh at a few parts. I didn't cry at all, so that's always a plus. I would probably definitely say if you're into zombie gore and love that spurting blood, like, you would really love this movie.
Yeah, it was. I really liked it. I really liked the zombies. Oh, especially like a lot of them. They close their eyes. They don't walk around with their eyes open, so they're walking around.
All their eyes are closed.
And in the later scenes when all the zombies start rising, there's like worms.
Yeah, like they have an eye patch. It looks like they have an eye patch real close and over their eye, and there's all these worms, and they're live worms.
All these earthworms all
over their eye, and there's one that has them coming out of their mouth, and it was cool. It was really cool to see when they're coming up out of the ground like that.
Yeah.
That's why I said a lot, special effects for back then. I'm sure people were freaking out at the time.
Yeah.
And for now,
especially that eyeball scene. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
Gross.
that would have done me in
I
back
probably would have been a little ill.
then. And I've seen like a lot of. I said even in the late '80s there was some scenes where you see stuff like that, and it's a fake head. Like even some Savini stuff,
Right.
and you can tell it's fake. And that was like for '79, that was really good.
Yeah, it was pretty
Especially the budget they had to work with. They did really good with
and
it.
the island setting I thought was, I've been on a few islands. I thought the beach setting and the pier and the things like that was really good.
It said it was filmed in Santo Domingo and Latina Italy, other than the New York City scenes. So
I thought it was great as far as the scenes go. It was legit New York City, and it was for being filmed on Italian islands. They really made it look like the Caribbean. It really looked like they were in St. Thomas. So I thought that was really good. Other than that, there was really no bad parts for me. It got just a smidge slow towards the beginning when you're learning or trying to figure out what's going on. But other than that, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I would probably give a 3 or 3.5 star.
I was going to say a 4, so I can meet you in the middle with a 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Out of everything we've seen so far, this is probably the one I like the most.
Even after Faceless, you didn't? You like this one?
Oh, that was bad. Faceless was so bad.
Rip Gordon.
Yeah. Even after Faceless.
So next week is Jen's pick. And next week is the MST3K list. So we get to pick a movie out of all the movies that they've ever put on MST3K. If you don't know, it's Mystery Science Theater 3000.
If you're from Minnesota, you better know MST3K.
So it's a lot of horrible B-rate movies that these people sit and make fun of, or this guy and his 2 robots.
I told Corey that's what we should do. We should pick one and do like a
viewing
party.
Yeah, we might do like a live viewing of this. So then you guys can watch with us.
We only have a week to plan, and we have quite a bit going on in the next 2 weeks. So it may not happen this week. But
maybe in the coming months we'll try to organize something. And maybe just outside of this, maybe we could do a viewing party. We'll just give us a pick for a horrible movie that's funny.
Pick a horrible movie and we'll sit and make
We'll live stream it and make fun of it and comment and everything. So
absolutely.
All right. So we'd like to thank you for joining us again.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us, and thanks for listening to our recap of strange cult classic movies.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here. Have a good day.
Bye.